Hi, my name's Lucy and I work for a small charity called the Sumatran Orangutan Society. We work to protect Sumatran orangutans, their forests and their future. So today I want to tell you a little bit about why orangutans are so special, why they need our help, and what we're doing at the Sumatran Orangutan Society to give them that help. I want to start first of all with a nice fact about orangutans that you can take home and share with your friends and family. A lot of people think that an orangutan is a monkey, but it is actually a great ape. And that means that orangutans are one of our closest relatives in the animal kingdom. So as you can see from the t-shirt I'm wearing, they actually share a lot of genetic similarity with us. So that means, and you can see it in the way that they look and the way that they act. They have a lot of similarities with us. Their faces are quite similar. They have similar hands and feet. And that's one of the things that makes it really easy to sort of feel a connection with them. So how do you tell what's a monkey and what's an ape? The easiest way is that most monkeys have a really obvious tail. You sort of can imagine monkeys walking along a tree branch and they've got a long tail to help them balance, or some of them even curl the tail around the branches for security. But orangutans, like us, don't have that. So that's a really easy way to remember that an orangutan is an ape and not a monkey. The word orangutan means person of the forest. That's because in Indonesian and Malay languages, the word orang means person and hutan means forest. So if you put those together, you get orangutan. You can see why early explorers going to the jungle would have thought that perhaps there were these orange sort of very hairy people living in the forest, because they do look from a distance so much like people. Orangutans live high in trees in the forest. The rainforest is really important to them, and that's the habitat that they can thrive in. Another really cool fact about orangutans that a lot of people don't know and that really surprises people is that they sleep in nests. You might associate nests normally with birds. We all know about birds making nests to raise their young in, but orangutans use nests to sleep in at night and sometimes for naps in the day as well. And that's not only important for them for getting a good, safe sleep away from predators, but it's really important for the rainforest. If you can imagine, as Tawny mentioned earlier in her presentation, some of the leaves on trees in rainforests are so big they're almost the size of a person. So if you think of a huge forest where all the trees are really tall and they all have big leaves, down on the ground it can get quite dark. But when orangutans make their nests, they do it by bending and breaking branches to make a nice comfy platform. And that allows light through the rainforest canopy down to the forest floor, and that enables other plants to grow. And that's all part of a healthy ecosystem and what we call biodiversity, so allowing lots of different species to thrive together in the same forest. Another thing that we all recognise in the way that orangutans behave is their relationship with their babies. In the animal kingdom, it's quite rare for baby animals to spend a long time with their mother. If you think of dogs and cats, things like hamsters and rabbits, they all spend just a few weeks with their mother before they become independent enough to, in the case of domestic animals, they can move into a human home by themselves, or in the wild, they're a bit more able to do things like hunting or finding food by themselves. Like us, though, orangutans have a long childhood. So baby orangutans normally spend at least 7 or 8 years with their mother before they are independent. And even once they become slightly independent, they still often sort of hang around for a few years, sort of revisiting their mother to spend time with her and to learn perhaps more skills. The reason that orangutans need such a long childhood is because there's so much for them to learn about living in the forest and eating the correct diet. Orangutans are known to eat over 500 different types of plants. So as you can imagine, it takes a very long time to learn which ones are safe to eat, which ones are healthy, which trees are fruiting in which season, and so on. They also have to develop a mental map of the forest so they know where they're going, and that takes time as well. So that really special mother and child relationship is something that we all can really identify with when we think about orangutans and how they live. Orangutans in Sumatra share their habitat with some other really special and really endangered creatures. As you can see on this slide, there's the Sumatran rhino, Sumatran tiger and Sumatran elephant, all sharing the same ecosystem. The ecosystem is called the Lucy ecosystem, and it's the last place on Earth where all four of these amazing animals live together in the wild. So everything we do to help Sumatran orangutans also helps these animals. And they're all classed as critically endangered, which means that without our help, they're at risk of becoming extinct within the next few years. And that sounds really scary, but as you'll see when I go on in my presentation and talk about what we're doing, there is still a lot of hope and a lot that we can do for these animals. It's also not just wildlife that relies on rainforests in Sumatra. The Lucy ecosystem that I just mentioned provides what we call a life support system for over 4 million people. So things like being able to grow crops and drink clean water, avoiding flooding and droughts and landslides, all that is provided by the rainforest. So by protecting the forest, we're also helping millions of people in Sumatra. Not only that, but rainforests are actually really important for all of us anywhere we live in the globe. Although we're thousands of miles away from Sumatra, our weather systems that we depend on are largely influenced by the rainforest. They absorb solar radiation, they absorb carbon, and they enable us to have the seasonal variations that we know and look forward to. The spring's coming now as I'm recording this, and it's sort of the rainforests regulate our climate and make us able to have the good and stable weather and life systems that we want as well. So why do orangutans and their rainforests need our help? As I said, they're classified as critically endangered, so we really need to do something to help them. There's only 14,000 orangutans left in Sumatra, which sounds like quite a large number, but looking back over quite recent history, there used to be hundreds of thousands. Early in the 20th century, there would have been way more orangutans in the wild than there are now. There's also been an 80% decline in orangutan habitat in the past 25 years. So that means a lot of their forest has been cut down and they're struggling to survive because they don't have the trees and the forests that they need to live in. In Sumatra, the forests have been cut down faster than they are anywhere else in the world. Orangutans need large areas of forest to roam, and so they can find enough food. Although they eat over 500 different types of plant, it can take a long time for them to find all the plants they need. They're quite large-bodied animals. Adult orangutans can be the same size as an adult human or even bigger. So if you can imagine, they're eating mostly a diet of leaves and fruit. They need quite a lot each day to keep their bodies going. So they need a big area of forest in order to sustain all the adult orangutans and all the baby orangutans that need that nutrition. Many areas of forest have been cut down because of agriculture. Agriculture is clearing land of forest to replace it with what we call monocrop cultures of things like palm oil. And that's necessary because there are billions of people in the world and we all need to eat. So you've probably heard a lot about palm oil, perhaps in the news or on TV, and often it's described as almost this evil crop. But it is just a crop. It's just a plant. It's not inherently wrong or bad. It's just the way that it's grown that can be a problem. Unfortunately, because things grow so well in Sumatra's climate, it makes it very easy for large companies to make a lot of money by growing this crop. And it's more cost effective for them to cut down new parts of forest and grow new plantations rather than using the same land over and over again. And that's what we're trying to tackle. We're trying to make it so that more and more companies grow palm oil sustainably. So they're reusing the same pieces of land. They're making sure that they don't harm wildlife. And the good news is there are lots of companies doing this. And if you shop at, or your parents shop at supermarkets like any of the big ones you'd recognise, Sainsbury's, Tesco, Asda, Morrison's, all of those work together to make sure that all the palm oil in their own branded products is sustainable. So that's just to give you a little bit of reassurance that palm oil is not an evil crop, and there's lots and lots of food you can buy in this country that doesn't hurt orangutans and other wildlife. And what we want to avoid is what you can see in this image here, where orangutans become stranded in patches of forest that are cut off from other bits of forest. So you can see this orangutan is hanging from a tree, but there's not many other big trees around her. So That's what we call forest fragmentation, and that means that orangutans can kind of become stranded and unable to find food or unable to reach other orangutans. So, what are we doing at Sumatran Orangutan Society to save orangutans in their forests? We're dedicated to conserving Sumatran orangutans and the rainforests they live in, and we do it in three main ways. The first is protecting orangutans, the second is saving forests, and the third one is supporting people. And we need all three of these together if we're going to have any success. We can't leave any of them out, and you'll see why as I go on through the presentation. The first one seems quite obvious for an orangutan charity, and that's protecting orangutans. We raise money for orangutan rescue teams and orangutan monitoring units that make sure that the orangutans still existing in Sumatra are safe from poaching, they're safe from human-wildlife conflict, nobody's sort of taking the babies into the pet trade. We provide funding to the people that do that so that all around the clock, every day of the year, there are people just a phone call away to protect orangutans who are in danger in Sumatra. Saving forests is a bit of a bigger task, and it takes a lot of long-term planning. There's two different ways we do that. So first of all, we want to protect the rainforests that are still standing. There is still a lot of rainforest left in Sumatra, but we want to make sure it stays that way and we don't lose any more of it. We do that by funding patrol teams who can go out and look for signs of illegal activity in the forest. So they can look out for things like trees being cut down or snares being set for animals. Maybe they'll find pieces of land that have been burned. And all that information can be sent back to the Indonesian authorities so that they can act to make sure that the illegal activity doesn't spread. We also contribute to this with satellite deforestation monitoring. So that's really sophisticated technology that is watching all the time, around the clock, these satellites that look for patterns of change in the rainforest. So if suddenly a fire springs up or a large patch of forest seems to be falling, that's really quick data that we can get a lot quicker than people walking around on the ground. So those two combined provides a lot of information to the authorities to make sure that we keep forests standing and safe. Unfortunately, as I said, a lot of forests have already been cut down. But what we're doing to address that is what's called forest restoration. So we help our partners in Sumatra to buy pieces of land so that they can replant them with native trees and reproduce a rainforest habitat for orangutans and other wildlife. This slide shows how quickly a rainforest can actually come back. You imagine in this country, if you tried to grow a whole forest, it would take years and years. But the climate in Sumatra is very hot, very wet, very humid. So it only takes, as you can see, about 4 years before there's enough forests for wildlife to return. So we'll see things like elephants starting to pass through the plantations. There'll be orangutan nests, and then you start to see the orangutans themselves eating fruit from the trees. You'll even see tigers. We've had a few camera trap images of tigers coming through the restoration sites, and you sometimes get pictures from the staff of tiger footprints in the soil. So it really doesn't take long to get this forest regenerated. And we do that by having teams who live on site, and they spend all day taking care of the trees, making sure they're not being choked by fast-growing grasses, making sure they're not being dug up by wild pigs, and just making sure that the forest can come back as quickly and healthily as possible. And this image, this before and after, shows how amazing that transformation is. This is one of our sites. It's called Halaban, and the before image is about 10 years ago. And as you can see, the ground looks really dry and barren. There's not many trees around. And the after image was after 10 years of hard work by the team. And you can see it's completely different. You almost wouldn't recognize it's the same site. It's green, there's tall trees, and you can completely imagine all the wildlife that's hidden in amongst those trees in the picture. And the final piece of our work, as I said, is supporting people. And that's the one that's a little bit harder to explain sometimes, because people see us as an orangutan charity, an animal charity, and they don't always know why we have to support people as well. But Sumatra is just like the UK in many ways. There's people living everywhere. It's like if you go for a walk in the countryside here, you'll always bump into other people or you'll see houses. It's the same as Sumatra, and people there have to live and eat and work and go to school and get medical treatment just the same way that we do. So we have to work with them. We can't say, well, there's orangutans here, so you don't get to live here. Just the same way that we wouldn't tell someone in the UK, well, no, you can't live here because there's a woodland with badgers in it nearby. It wouldn't be fair and it wouldn't be the right thing to do. So what we try and do is to work with people. We try to ask them what they want and what they need, rather than telling them what they shouldn't be doing. And all the staff that work in our restoration sites, the vast majority of them are from local communities who perhaps before didn't have work, or they might have had work that they didn't enjoy, doing rubber harvesting or oil palm harvesting. And now they can work, they've had training in how to do the forest regeneration, and they can work in that environment instead, contributing to regrowing the forest. We also do lots of things like providing schools, and we're starting to think about providing healthcare as well. So it's all what we would call quite holistic. Rather than trying to separate orangutans from people, we're trying to work with everything together to make sure that we get the best conservation success. And of course, one aspect of helping people is education. I won't say too much about this because this is what Tawny is going to tell you more about. But we, a couple of years ago, we built a school in a site called Bukit Mas in Sumatra. It's called the Lucy Nature School, and it's something the community asked for. As I said, we want to know what people want from us rather than telling them what we think they should have. And in that area, there wasn't a secondary school before. So parents would, children would have to finish school at the age of 11, or their parents would have to spend a lot of money to help them get to a school quite far away. And the school itself, once they got there, would be quite expensive too. They'd have to pay school fees, buy uniforms and so on. So we built this school that's completely free for the children to attend. And it's got a real theme around nature and conservation. But as I say, I will let Tawny tell you more about that. And that's me, but please feel free to let me know if you have any questions.